Paul from Guthrie, Oklahoma said, I know you've been a bit more negative lately about the sport. I know that's just the circumstances, but what do you love about the sport and what do you hate and what do you wish could change? Paul, have I been negative? Sometimes it gets that way. I don't realize it. Well, if I've been negative, let me answer your question by telling you what I love first. I love Saturdays in the fall. More so than anything in sports, I love Saturdays in the fall and everything that entails. Saturdays in the fall are the pinnacle of college football, not the playoff, not the national championship. Saturdays in the fall. There have probably been many of you who have been feeling a certain type of way watching the playoffs and you can't even explain it. Well, I'll explain it if you're feeling what I think you're feeling. You're watching the college football playoffs and you're excited for it and you know there are big ramifications and big implications on the line. There's a championship on the line and you're watching the games and it's very entertaining, but you're left feeling like you kind of are only 75% fulfilled or 80% fulfilled. And it doesn't make any sense because when you watch NFL playoff games, it is the absolute height and pinnacle of the sport in any given year. And then the wild card round is superseded by the divisional round and then conference championship round. And then you got the Super Bowl and that's where it culminates. And that's the top of the mountain. Everyone gets that. And you're wondering, why don't I feel that way with college football? I still like it. Indiana and Miami was a great game last night. I still like it, but I don't know, just there's a little hollowness to it. The reason you're feeling that way is because college football is different from any other sport, including the NFL. And that's because the regular season is the pinnacle of college football. A lot of people try and fight this. I don't know why. Why would you shy away from 4 months being the pinnacle instead of a few weeks being the pinnacle? It's great if you sort of train yourself on how to look at this. College football has something that no other American sport or sport on this planet has. And that is State College, Pennsylvania. And that's Eugene, Oregon. And that's Champaign, Illinois. And that's Gainesville, Florida on a Saturday in the fall. That is theater come to life. It's unbelievable. If you've never experienced it, I can't explain it in words. You have to experience it. Your eyes, your smell, all the senses are involved on a Saturday in the fall. Unbelievable. Rivalries. I love rivalries. Rivalries are the pinnacle of this sport to me as well. Saturdays in the fall, rivalries during the season. I'm very, very, very old school in how I think about this stuff. Like I value the outcomes of rivalry games more than I do what you do in the playoff. Now, I'm in the minority on that, and I will grant you that, but I'm just sharing to you my college football worldview. Like, to me, last year's Ohio State National Championship, I look at, and I always remember that you lost the Michigan game. You got the trophy, you got the banner, you deserve it because that's the construct of the sport. But to me, if I'm Ohio State, I am not fulfilled fully there because I don't have the Michigan win to go along with it. Conversely, this year I won the Michigan game. The fact that I didn't go on to beat Miami does not render that any less significant to me. So rivalries are their own season in college football to me. Some of the stuff I hate the way the transfer portal works. I don't like talking about it on the show. You've probably picked up on that. I do talk about it because there is massive interest in it. So, I mean, it would be like a dereliction of duty from me not to cover it because all I try to do is build the show around what you guys tell me you care about. But the portal, if I never had to talk about it again, I'd be totally fine with it. It's not the concept of the portal. It's not the concept that players can move if they want to. It's the frequency with which it happens. It's how many bad actors are involved in it. It's how many kids you can see making terrible, horrifically bad decisions, getting horrifically bad advice, and technically they're adults. And you got a lot of people out there bitter towards the whole thing, so they look at a kid getting hung out to dry and say, good. I don't feel that way. I don't feel that way because I was once upon a time 20 years old, and I'm pretty sure I would have listened to the adults in the room telling me to do something as well because, I was stupid enough to think they had my best interest at heart at 20 years old. Boy, did I learn. So, I hate the whole vibe around the portal right now. I love the root system of college football traditions. I love that. I love when I go to a Michigan game, I see a family tailgating at the exact same patch of land that their parents tailgated at, that their grandparents tailgated at. I love that they're about to walk in the big house, and it's one of the biggest buildings on planet Earth, and they're going to chant some of the same things and enjoy some of the same in-game traditions and game day traditions that their parents enjoyed, that their grandparents enjoyed. I love what the colors maize and blue mean. I love the feeling you get, like when you get off on that exit and you drive down those same streets you've driven down a million times. Sometimes you get there on a Friday, and there's nothing like breathing in a campus on a Friday, right on the eve of a big game on a Saturday. That is the root system of tradition in college football. Hey, do me one favor right here. Look down. Are you subscribed to the channel? If you are, thank you. If you're not, please click subscribe. It helps us keep the show free and free of corporate interference. All right, that's it for me. Back to the clip. I love it. I will again repeat. This is the sport for me because there's nothing else like that. I know you guys get after it in the parking lot in Philadelphia before an Eagles game. There's nothing remotely comparable to that and what it's like at a Penn State game. And some of you experience both, so you know good and well what I'm talking about. Let's talk about something else I hate. I hate the drive-by leadership that treats college football like it's just a line item. I hate that. I hate it because that is not what the sport is to me. In some cases, what's best for the sport would make the sport a little bit less money. And once upon a time, we were kind of okay with that. And in certain places, they're still okay with that. I've always been quick to give credit to Notre Dame and Michigan, a few other places where, as an example, they have chosen to forego plastering advertising signage all over their venues. Not because it wouldn't make them money, it would make them money. But they've looked at the relative pristine appearance of their venues and they've said, you know, that matters to us more than making extra money because we don't need it. We're already loaded. So let's put our foot down there. That kind of attitude doesn't exist nearly enough. You know who else figured that out? The Rose Bowl. When I was growing up in Georgia, everyone would say the Rose Bowl's getting in the way of progress. And it wasn't until years later when I defined sort of my college football worldview and what I loved and didn't like and what I value that I realized, wait a second, my value system is directly in line with the Rose Bowl's. The Rose Bowl has defined their value system and they are adhering to tradition and they couldn't care less who has a problem with it. They're going to be New Year's Day and they're going to have that sunset over the mountains there in the second half, and they're going to have the Rose Parade, and they're going to have all the pageantry and the tradition that's always been associated with that thing, and they're going to take themselves very seriously because it's tradition that deserves to be taken seriously. And if you don't like it, like all due respect, piss off. We'll have the game with you, we'll have the game without you, and we'll be fine. That attitude used to be very prevalent in college football. What I hate is the sort of drive-by leadership, the people who somehow some way got their hands on the wheel of the decision-making apparatus of college football, and they make decisions like they're not going to be here in 5 years to reap the consequences of it. That I don't like. I don't like that, you know, when we hear proposals about conference realignment, when we hear proposals about playoff expansion, when we hear proposals that would introduce fundamental change to the game, two of the words you never hear out of any quote-unquote leader's mouth is fan and player, because they couldn't care less how it affects fans or players. You ever notice that? If you ever wonder who has the best interest of the sport at heart when they're making decisions, just check how frequently they mention fans and players. You'll find out pretty quick. You'll separate them pretty quick. One more thing I hate, since we're trying to balance this out, bad faith arguments. There are a lot of these out there. Sometimes it comes from people who benefit from the current chaotic landscape of college football. I mean, there's some legal types out there that I couldn't care less about because they make arguments that they know are in bad faith. And it's in the nature of a lawyer to understand they're speaking a language. The language of legalese is a language most of us do not understand. And when you speak a language most people don't understand, the thing you come to realize is you can say pretty much anything you want and you'll confuse everyone else who doesn't speak the language. This is how politicians have thrived for a long time, but this is how legal types have thrived in an open environment like this right now for a long time. So if it's in your best interest, if it's in your best financial interest, especially, for the chaos to continue, frankly, I don't really care what you have to say about what's best for college football, because you and I probably don't agree on that. But then on the other side, we probably got a lot of administrative types over there clapping. Good for you. Get after them. Buddy, you're just as complicit on the flip side of the coin of the bad faith arguments, because you and your lack of foresight created the climate that the chaos could exist in. And then you make a lot of bad faith arguments, like, well, we can't afford to pay players anything. Well, how'd that work out? And now it's we can't afford to make them employees. Well, can you not afford it, or can you not afford it? Those are two different things. I'm not even taking a stance on that necessarily. I'm just saying there are a lot of bad faith arguments. So those are some things I love and hate about college football.